different format. So the purpose for this year is to provide education, to provide an exchange of ideas. We want sales and marketing professionals to attend these meetings to learn from each other, to hone their skills and become more productive in our industry. We also always want to provide opportunities for networking. We've got great people to meet in this industry and want to connect. We'll encourage membership in both this council and the BIA. And finally, one of our overriding purposes for this year is to create this culture within our sales and marketing professionals, within the Sales and Marketing Council, to create a culture of professionalism, of education, and of excellence. So what you can expect from us moving forward for today and for the rest of the year, our meetings will always have something of value. So we want you to come to the meeting, we want you to leave with some practical ideas that you can put in place right away that will make you better in your careers and in this industry. We know everyone is busy. That's the whole purpose. We want to attract the most professional individuals in our industry, so we'll respect your time. We'll start on time, we'll end on time, and it'll always be purposeful. But we'll have a little fun along the way as well. So thank you all for being here this morning. We're going to introduce ourselves. I'm going to turn it over to our co-chair, Andrew Russ.
Nice to meet everyone. I haven't met you yet. Please correct me afterwards, and we can probably get a chance to meet. My name is Andrew Russ. I'm a marketing and design consultant with P&D Builders. I help our clients and our homeowners design their dream homes and turn them into reality. SMC Council is here, co-chair with Morgan. Looking forward to hosting everyone and have some awesome events here.
Good morning, everybody. So glad that all of you can make it this morning. Real quick, just want to tell you about some upcoming BIA events to keep on your radar. On March 9th, we will be doing our annual speed networking event. Typically, it's normally attached to another event that we do. This year, we put it out on its own event. It'll be at Ohio Brewing Company. There are 21 great builders signed up for this event. If you're somebody in this room and you've joined the BIA because you want to get that one-on-one time with the builder, this is the event to get at. You pay a flat fee. It covers 3 appointments plus the reception afterwards. If you have any questions, let me know. There's a packet up there. There's also a one-sheeter with all of our upcoming events. Another event I just want to put on your radar is our big night. It's just around the corner. So if you are a person, you have a place or a space, there is an award for you to submit for. Please let me know if you have any questions. Those submittals are due on March 13th. So I won't stand here all day and go through everything. I just wanted to highlight those 2 events, and I want to give a big shout out to Morgan and Andrew. They worked very hard on this event this morning. So big thank you to them, and I'm going to pass the mic back. So thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mike. Before we get started, I want to thank our event sponsors. Morgan and I thank all, but Swan Lake and P&D Builders covering the event center and the setup this morning. I'm really grateful for both of them.
And we also want to thank Lisa Hamilton with Mutual of Omaha for providing our delicious breakfast. So that's why you need to make sure you get some. You can get to go. But we've been working with Mutual of Omaha for years and years. The lifestyle loan, or you might know it as the Heckman product, is a key part of our business. And Lisa and her team at Mutual of Omaha are the best in the business for the lifestyle loan. So Lisa, do you want to stand up and just, everyone can see you and look at you?
If you don't know about it, you should learn about it. It can be life-changing for your clients and your business. So we love to help. Thanks.
Thank you again. And then just real quick, I don't think I introduced myself. I'm Morgan Knapp. I'm with Econ Communities. I'm the Director of Sales, Recruiting, and Training. I've been in business with Econ for about 15 years. I started off selling our homes, managed our teams for several years, and now I work for Econ nationally to recruit and train sales professionals. I love this industry. I love how there's always something new to learn. And so that's going to be the theme today. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to get some good ideas. And so with that, we're going to introduce our speakers. I'll turn it over to
Our next speaker is a loan officer. Even though he helps your clients find the money for the home they want, he also has a deep love and curiosity for marketing and its power to change lives. What makes his story relevant to you? He has been on a journey to create a meaningful real estate practice over the last 17 years. He has been to the top, lost it all, and considered quitting after 13 years. Because of those failures, he has learned what drives business and what doesn't. This led him to create a coaching program to help agents and loan officers avoid the same catastrophic mistakes he has made. Please help me welcome Ryan Miracle.
And our additional speaker is a seasoned real estate professional with over 20 years of success in new home sales. Christy has experience in multiple facets of the industry. She was a former realtor and a co-owner of a real estate brokerage, and also previously held a loan officer license. Christy felt it was important to understand the business as a whole in order to best direct people in making one of the biggest financial investments of their lives. In Christy's mind, it isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This statement is embodied in her mindset, and she has used that to impact the lives of hundreds of Central Ohio home buyers every year. Christy is a champion of the underserved, and she uses her platform to bring home buyer education to first-time home buyers, helps them navigate the path to successful and sustainable home ownership. So please join me in welcoming Christy Reynolds for speaking. So we'll get started. We'll go to some questions, and just so you guys know the format of this, we'll ask our speakers a few questions. We'll leave some time towards the end for you to ask any questions that you might have on your mind. And then we'll also have this interactive portion at the end where you'll get to share some of your ideas as well. So we'll hop right into questions. Obviously, you've all seen the news that's going on this year, and there's plenty of negative news out there, but there's also plenty of positive news. So that's what we want to talk about. What do you both see as the biggest opportunities for the year 2023? Christy, I'll let you start.
So real estate is hyper local. Guys, I apologize in advance for my voice. It's, what we're seeing in the news reports is a national perspective of the industry. But what we're experiencing here in Central Ohio is very different. With all the growth and development that we're experiencing here, there's so much opportunity to bring home ownership to all the people relocating for jobs. Our job market is incredibly strong. We have lots of growth and development. And as we continue to expand out and bring in products that can serve first-time home buyers, the opportunity there continues to grow.
Good, thank you.
Yep. So as far as opportunities are concerned, how many of you guys were here during '08? So how many of you guys saw an opportunity that we missed to grow your foundation of your business during that time? Like you shrunk, you kind of hid, and then looking back on it, you missed an opportunity. Well, that's what's going on again right now. So for every one of you who have not been through '08, and this is your first down cycle, there is a huge opportunity against your peers to be able to build a massive foundation that when this is over, when we're back to easier times, and it will get better, you're going to be miles ahead of everyone else who just decided to run and hide and just wait for it to be over. So NAR, as of the beginning of 2022, projected that there was 1.6 million real estate agents in the country. Within the next 12 months, they're expecting 500,000 of them to be gone. So the same thing with loan officers, same thing with builders, same thing with title. It's going to thin out a lot of the people who got in while it was easy. So your opportunity right now is, instead of being fearful, be greedy. Because people are leaving stuff on the floor, all you have to do is just reach down and pick it up. So look for those opportunities to where you can grow market share instead of just holding on to what you have and playing defense.
I appreciate that. It's kind of like whatever the masses are doing, do the opposite, right? And they'll find the opportunities.
Tell us more about how both of you got started within this industry. How were things when you first began? What steps did you take to go from a novice to an industry top producer?
Either of you can start.
So it's funny that Sean's here because I initially got into real estate in 2005. I went to Ohio Northern for graphic design and PR, and it didn't realize during my education I was going to be getting coffee for people for like 5 years before I actually did anything meaningful. So I took a sales job in Marion at a furniture store, and right across the street was a Dominion community. The salesperson came in, I took them as my up, and I started working at Dominion a couple weeks later, which is where I got the pleasure to meet Sean. So from there, I got laid off from Dominion during the '08 downturn. A couple of guys that I worked with at Dominion had went over to chase the monster building over there off of Polaris to do sit in a cubicle and do loans by headset. So was there for a couple years, and then the refi boom happened. Everything was great, easy money, fish in a barrel, and then rates started dropping. I started seeing signs that they were going to start throwing loan officers into the wood chipper. So I found out that Dominion was getting ready to let go of their lender that they had at the time, and I figured out who they were going to. So I went to them, that lender. So I was back in the Dominion family doing home loans for new builds for a couple years. Pulte came along, bought out Dominion, and then we switched my company from Hallmark to Ruoff, which is where I'm at right now. So during that time frame, we all kind of get irritated with the down cycle right around Thanksgiving, where things slow down and it doesn't really pick back up until spring. Yeah, exactly, Super Bowl. So it was during that time where I was sitting in my living room with my wife on the couch, and she ran a marketing department for 10 years, and she was like, why don't you just figure out how to bring in leads yourself? So I took up that challenge, and for like the next 2 years, I was adamant that I was going to figure out Facebook, Instagram, YouTube leads, Google stuff, try to figure out how to bring in cold leads in. Well, unfortunately, I forsook whatever the proper English is, my actual positive lead generation sources, which is my relationships with my agents. So I wasn't making my phone calls. I wasn't doing the things that I knew worked because my pride got in the way of trying to figure out this Facebook thing. Well, fast forward 2 years, my family was broke. Like, we had nothing. There was actually a point, and I remember this vividly, to where I pulled the last trash bag out of the trash bag box to put it in. It's like, we can't even afford trash bags. So it was at that moment to where I stopped what I was doing, I put my pride aside and started getting back to what I knew worked, which was building relationships, following my numbers, doing things, making my calls consistently. And then from there, I was able to, the media side, I watched one video just one night after my kids went to bed, and it changed my entire perspective on how I need to operate my business. So the video, he's actually now my coach. He talks about the best known will beat the best. How many of you guys are really good at what you do? Don't be shy. If your hand's not up, you need to start fixing something in your back end. Okay, so another show of hands. How many of you would have had the thought, like literally have had the thought, if more people knew how good I was, I would have a line out the door? Okay, so why don't you have a line up out the door? Because you're not doing enough to promote yourself and stay in front and stay top of mind with other people. So it was that one video that kind of broke my prior belief and what I was doing, and it has changed everything. And that was only like a year and a half ago. So focusing on being a media company first, and whatever you do, title, insurance, builders, that's your fulfillment. So being a media company first, not letting people forget about you, will help form a line outside your door.
Ryan, will you share that video with us and we can share it with everyone here?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. Anybody answer the same question?
So my entry into the industry started around my own personal experience with home buying. I bought my first home when I was 19 years old, kept it for about 17 months as an investment property, and wanted to buy the next one, and the next one was a new construction home. I walked into a builder, and the experience that I had with the salesperson at that builder left a lot to be desired. And I realized right away that if somebody was helping another person make one of the biggest financial investments of their life, then they should be able to answer the questions and help guide that person along the way. The real estate agent that I had used to represent me in both of my prior transactions had suggested that I talk to somebody at Dominion Homes. And so on a rainy Friday afternoon, I found myself driving to Dublin to have a meeting with Jack Martino, who's well known in the industry. I knew right away when I met him for the first time that this was my purpose, that this is where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to be doing. And I spent 4 years with that leadership team at Dominion Homes and accomplished what was kind of the pinnacle of our awards at that point, which was the President's Club. In doing so, I decided that I wanted to be able to expand. So I went out and got a real estate license, and I started a real estate brokerage, and my team sold new construction exclusively. During that time, I also got a loan officer license, not because I had any desire to do mortgages, but simply because I wanted to understand what is the underwriter looking for on the back end, so I can best prepare my buyer on the front end to be successful in their pursuit. The market took a downturn, and I found my way back to the builder side. A conversation again with Jack Martino. He'd gone over to Westport Homes after the acquisition of Dominion, and I recognized that he was building something great, something that would ultimately end up attracting the attention of America's largest builder, D.R. Horton. And through that acquisition, we've been given the opportunity to grow our market share, expand our reach, and put ourselves in a position to really have more people acquire home ownership.
Yeah, just a follow-up question. The first thing I heard is that you bought your first home when you were 19 and started investing properties from there. Where did you get that impulse to do that? Or how did you know to do that at such a young age?
When I filed my taxes. I previously worked in the finance department in the auto industry, and my tax return, and the person doing my taxes suggested that I either should have a child or buy a house.
It's easier to buy a house.
Preach.
And then one other follow-up question for you, Christy. So, there's probably several people in this room that are newer to the building industry or the home sales industry. You mentioned that you got your loan officer license to understand all facets of the business. Anything else that you did specifically when you were first starting off in home sales to get really good?
Lots of practice. So my perspective about new home sales is that, I mentioned before, it's not a matter if somebody can buy a house, it's simply a matter of when. I think oftentimes when somebody walks through the door or a realtor partner puts a prospect in front of you, if you identify early on that there may not be a good fit, or maybe they're not qualified to buy, it becomes a short conversation, and I've never taken that approach. I'm dedicated to helping anybody who gives me the opportunity to help them find their path. So I would take that particular prospect from start to finish, regardless of what their current financial situation was, and help them identify the path to get there. I built relationships with realtors who then in return would give me multiple opportunities to do just that. Even if they recognized that maybe they weren't the best fit for my product, they would bring them to me for the education. So that repetitive opportunity to get in front of somebody and take them through the process of home buying just allowed me to hone my skills. There's a saying that if you want to be a professional at anything, that it takes 10,000 hours of practice. And I just make sure that I get those 10,000 hours, even if they're not going to buy my product, it's still helping me get better at what I do.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So for both of you, producing at such a high level obviously takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy and effort. What personal routines or practices do you have that help you to stay in the right mindset and get top of your game?
Sure, thank you. If you look at my schedule is incredibly boring because it's the same thing week after week after week. So there's a book that helped kind of get my family out of the rut that we were in financially, and it's a book called Clockwork. I recommend that everyone in this room buy it. It's by Mike Michalowicz. He's an amazing business author, and there's so many things that he does and talks about that is very applicable to real estate. So that aside, so beside getting the book, time blocking is paramount. So, I mean, we all kind of get caught up. If an appraisal gets cut, we want to fight that fire right then. But in reality, the client has no idea that the appraisal came back and is cut. So when we have those kind of situations to where there's a client stressful moment or need to go take this phone call or what have you, what we end up doing is we end up kicking, I call it our green time, down the road. So like making videos. How many of you guys have made videos before? How many of you guys want to do it more often? Why don't you? Because you're not prioritizing it. Same thing goes with making your phone calls to your database, calling your referral partners, whatever it is because we don't prioritize that. So as far as leveraging time, I time block and I protect that with my life. So there's basically, I make my phone calls every single Wednesday. I do videos every single Tuesday. So I'm highly repetitious, but incredibly boring. But it's by doing the same boring things week after week after week, that's where the growth is. You're not going to see this explosion in your business, but once again, you're going to start seeing your business start climbing because you're doing the same things over and over and over again. So it's not a sexy thing, but it's definitely effective.
Not sexy and boring, you're speaking my language.
I couldn't agree more. Having systems in place is the only thing that keeps it moving forward. The structure. Guys, I apologize. Excuse me. I'm very systematic. I time block. I do the same things consistently. My week is planned out very far in advance, ahead of every calendar year. I have a business plan that I write ahead of every quarter. I revisit that business plan and break it down. Ahead of every month, I break down how I'm going to accomplish the goal, and I break that down even further to my day-to-day activity of the activities that produce what's necessary to accomplish it. Teamwork and relationships are the two biggest things that have led to the success that I've been able to have in the industry. Identifying a team of people with the same common goal that you can work together with and play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses has been instrumental in growing the team and growing their success. But I encourage you, if you're not using some type of calendar or time blocking system, it's the most important thing. You can't get somewhere without a plan. You have to have a plan in place to accomplish what you set out to. I'm so sorry, guys.
It's getting better.
You're doing great.
So having that repetitive routine obviously helps, but both of you having families and growing families, how do you guys separate that almost religious work routine and intermix personal and family time and social time with friends and family, obviously making sure you don't neglect what kind of matters most in family and friends?
Me first again? Oh, yeah, please, thank you.
I'm fortunate to have a spouse who's also in the industry. He's a realtor. He understands that real estate is 24/7, 365. That you have to be available when the customer is. You have to be available to your realtor partner when they need something from you. My older, I have two sets of kids, older, and I started all over and have younger ones. Both of my older kids, one works with us at the airport and she works on the mortgage side with the Homebuyers Club. And my son is currently in college studying business and finance with the full intent to be in real estate. My two youngest can almost repeat the things that I say on a day-to-day basis. I don't necessarily try to keep it separate. I try to keep them incorporated. They come with me to the office sometimes. I use them in my marketing. They're standing in my office with the same side. So I try to keep them involved. My family operates from a Google Calendar. Time blocking is important to me both personally and professionally. And there are times in my Google Calendar that are blocked out that I'm not answering a call during that specific time because it's something that's inside for them.
Yeah, my answer is going to pretty much mirror what Christy said. So time blocking is paramount. So when you go to set up your time block, the very first thing that you should put in there is not your green time, not your appointments, it's your personal time. Because if you don't put your personal time in there first, your work schedule will spill out into the rest of your day. So having those bumpers in place where business starts here, it ends here, and then I'm on call, very much the same. Another thing is utilizing your CRM to copy and paste you over and over and over again. Because how many times are we having the same stinking conversation, answering the same questions over and over again? So utilizing a CRM to basically have a robo-you working when you could be on vacation, you'd be doing things like this, you could be putting your kids to bed. So you have a system that's working for you, and it's never going to go to sleep. All you got to do is just make sure you pay the bill, and it's just going to keep working for you. So a CRM, and then time blocking your personal time first. Once again, I'm very lucky that I have a spouse that has an understanding of what it takes to grow a business. Her father started the business the same year that she was born, so the business is just a couple months older than her. So she grew up understanding that dad or mom is going to have to be absent at times to help build where the family is going. But at the same time, you just try to make it up on the back end when you can disconnect with your personal time to try to catch back up.
You touched on some of this, but I'll ask it again maybe in different ways. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced along the way? What have they taught you, or what have you taken away from them? And looking back, is there anything that maybe you would do differently?
Okay, thank you. Don't be afraid to be wrong. Pride is it's a wicked thing if you let it kind of take control. So always needing to be right, being afraid to take a shot at something that could go wrong, but what you learned from that, it could be something beautiful, and it could be the stepping stones for something amazing. So a grand slam in baseball is what, maximum of 4 runs, but a grand slam in business could be thousands and thousands and millions of dollars in potential commissions if you do it right. So continuing to take shots at things, at projects that could go really bad, but they can go so right. But if you don't take the loss as a failure and you quit, you're going to be able to learn things as you go, and then just the next time you're going to be better, and it's going to make you tougher to kill the more you start walking in and accepting failure is just part of the process. Once again, I share my failures to help others know that there are better ways to do it, and even if you've gotten kicked in the teeth, you can get yourself back out of it if you push and you persist.
Along with that, being pliable, and willing to pivot. Our industry is constantly changing, and you have to be willing to change with it. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to adapt new practices and grow and look beyond what may have brought you much success in the past so that you can continue to move forward. One of the greatest things about this industry is the fact that it is constantly changing. It keeps it exciting and fun and interesting. There's never a dull or boring moment. The opportunity is always there to learn and expand.
So you highlighted on some really great points, especially with schedules and blocking and advice for all the people in the audience. As newcomers come in, and everyone you mentioned, a lot of individuals within the industry are going to either give up or back down. Mm-hmm. What is something both of you would recommend to individuals who are coming into the industry, more so as a point to not be discouraged, but more so as a point of advice on what they would do, where they should go, where they should look?
I would say focusing on relationships, building relationships from the beginning, and allowing those relationships to grow over time. I think there's a perspective in the industry for a lot of builder reps, so somebody that sits there, that waiting on someone to walk through the door or for the company to drive the traffic is where your business is going to come from. That business should be thought of and perceived as icing on the cake. If you want to be a professional in this industry, if you want to be successful and have long-term success, it's up to you to go get it. It's up to you to build relationships with your realtor partners that are going to bring those opportunities to you. The company will drive what it can and what it will, but there's no glass ceiling in our industry. There's no limit or no top to what we can achieve. And if you approach it with the mindset that it's your franchise, you own it, it's up to you to how successful that franchise is going to be. It'll change your perspective.
No, I second that in a big way. So taking yourself from being a technician, maybe in operations, or being a salesperson, and shifting your mindset to, this is my business, what do I got to do to market myself? What do I got to do to convert those leads, and what do I got to do to get them across the finish line? You start thinking, to Christy's point, as a business owner versus just an order taker, it is huge. Another thing is taking the emotion out of the direction you're going. So like we all get motivated by like a motivational video, or we go to church, we hear a sermon, we're jazzed up, but that emotion leaves shortly after. So if you're worried about, if you're trying to have your emotions carry you through, you're going to be riding this roller coaster for a long time. So what is it that you are driving for? Is it to become $1 million producer? Is it to, like in our case, we shifted our focus from trying to be the best loan officer to be the best known loan officer team in Columbus. So that being said, there's always more work to do, and by focusing on that, it has driven a lot of our decisions of what we do, speaking on panels like this, doing the videos that we do, the coaching opportunities, those kind of things. So just focusing on one key thing that you are trying to drive for, and relentlessly swing your feet out of bed every morning and chase that until you get it. And then once you get to the top of that mountain, an even taller mountain is going to show up on the horizon. So figuring out what's going to drive you that's not emotional, but actually something that is that you can see on the horizon.
That's a good segue to our next question. So we're heading into our busiest time, or we're in it. We're in our busiest time, but obviously we work in a cyclical market. If you had to pick one thing, maybe one or two things, when it does slow down and you're not seeing incoming leads as the quantity that you would like, what's the one thing you would do to create business?
Marketing. Marketing is what drives our success, and having the consistency that you're marketing in good times and bad. When you're super busy, you can't let off the gas of the marketing, because if you do, you're going to feel a lull. So having those systems in place to continue your marketing, even when you're busy. And then relationships, again, going back to what will sustain you through some type of economical downturn, a spike in interest rates, is having relationships in place. If you genuinely take the approach with every single lead and every single opportunity that you're given, even if that person can't buy today, you're building a database of what could be future buyers. And someone that maybe doesn't have the ability to buy right now could be less impacted because the news media says that it's not a good time to buy. It's always a good time to buy for somebody that's renting.
So a great point. So to your point, a lot of us, does everyone know what a marketing funnel is? Kind of? At Bueller? Okay, so a lot of us so the marketing funnel is you have a lot of people that you put in at the top, and then you have a small amount of cash outflow at the bottom. So the mistake that a lot of us make, and I made this mistake for over 13 years, is I was focusing at the bottom of the funnel where the cash is. So that is a cyclical cycle to where it's get client, put out fires, get paid. Get client, put out fires, and get paid. So that's where a lot of agents, loan officers, new build reps, whoever, they focus a lot of their time is how do I get my next sale? And that ends up leaving them on that really crappy roller coaster of I'm doing really well, get paid, and then riding high, not prospecting anymore, so sales are starting to go down, and then, oh hell, I gotta start prospecting again, so you gotta start doing that again, and you're booked. So it's a really crappy roller coaster that you can skip. So to Christy's point, instead of focusing at the bottom of the funnel, start dumping tons of names, phone numbers, and emails in the top of the funnel. And then at that point, those people are going to filter out naturally on their own, but you have a line of people waiting out the door, which we could all use. And just imagine going to the deli counter and having a ticket taker and now serving number 24. I mean, I know a lot of us have had those at points in our career, but just imagine if that never ended. So filling the top of the funnel and having that be your priority versus focusing on that bottom part of the funnel where the cash is, you'll never have to worry about where your next paycheck's coming from.
So talking about relationships, I would like to think more than not, everyone sitting in this room has at one point in time had someone who has either helped them out or paved the way or opened the door for them to walk up steps and be a better place. In points in your career, who has helped you and the most, and what impact did that have on your career, and where did that take you?
with Dana Crawford, who is the loan officer and now branch manager that I've used, has really propped me up and helped me expand many times over the years. So having a direct connection with the partner that you're using, so as a builder rep, realtor relationships, lending partners, relying on their expertise and experience if there's a time when maybe you're lacking or your business is down, just having somebody there to depend on and lean on to get you back going in the right direction.
So a handful of people. So first and foremost, my wife. So did you guys know that Walt Disney had a brother? His name was Roy Disney. So Walt was the visionary, and he was the pie in the sky. That it would be magical if we could do these things, but if it wasn't for Roy, none of it would have happened. So actually, Walt Disney died before they ever opened Walt Disney World in Florida. So it's because of Roy's tenacity and being able to push Walt's vision across the finish line, none of what we know today of Disney would exist. So my wife, we kind of flip-flop those roles personally and professionally, but she has been my Roy Disney, telling me to kind of pull back the reins at some points and pushing me harder at other points and trying to figure out how the hell do we make this thing happen. So my wife is paramount in that, and once again, she's my biggest cheerleader and I hers. But other than that, my initial sales manager at Dominion, Sean Loomis, I know that he's kind of a well-known name in the industry. My current DM, Jack Hammonds, when I was screwing up big when I first became a loan officer, he kind of saw the promise of what could be there, and he kind of held off Dominion from firing me at different points, because once again, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then kind of my pseudo coaches, my current content coach, Neil Dingra. If you guys don't know who he is, once again, he is an amazing teacher. He gives away everything. His Instagram handle is Neil Home, Neelhome. Russell Brunson, Alex Hormozy, and once again, my favorite author, Mike Michalowicz, who is, once again, each of those guys I've stepped on their back to help get me to that next tier. So I couldn't be here without them.
We'll send out some of these names out to you, so if you guys are interested, you can look up some of these leaders. So we're wrapping up our Q&A section. If you could leave us with one parting thought that's define your success, or that you think would help others to level up, what would it be? And I guess one more thought to add to that. Both of you are examples of thinking big, right? So Chris, you have the top production in Central Ohio for new home sales. Ryan, I know you're one of the greatest followings and one of the greatest marketing
Thank you.
Backgrounds. And so I was curious what advice you would give, or just one parting thought you would leave us with.
Just operating from a place of intent to serve. So knowing that what you do and what you're doing is to improve and to impact the greater good of other people. When you're passionate about what you do, it shows, and the success will follow.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for those kind words. And once again, thank you guys for listening to me kind of talk about myself. So being a media company first is probably the biggest thing that I would have you guys take away from this panel, is you got to promote yourself relentlessly. Video skills are no longer a nice to have, it's a non-negotiable. What was that?
Necessity.
Yeah, absolutely. Network your ass off. So I thank you for the SMC for putting this together, but a lot of us are fearful of interacting with their competition, but you never know who you are going to be connected with that down the road could open up a huge door for you. So make sure that you're not isolating or burning bridges with anyone in the industry, no matter if they can help you right then or not. And then lastly, just protect your green time. Selfishly protect your green time, do your sales activities, make your phone calls, don't skip that no matter what fire is going on, because your future self is going to thank you for doing that green time 2 weeks ago, because you never know which video, which phone call could lead to $1 million sale. So market yourself unapologetically, and then do as much green time as you can and then fulfill on the back end.
Thank you.
As we wrap up, thank you for Christine.
Oh, thank you.
It is our pleasure to have you both here. I'd like to lead and invite anyone from the audience if you have any questions. you want to ask Christy, right? Now is the time. Don't be fearful. Anyone want to jump out?
Oh, first of all, I want to say thank guys for coming out. You want me to take the floor? Okay. All right. And I have to say, I can reiterate exactly what you guys have said. Perfectly. I've been doing this since 1993. Got started back in the business as a mortgage broker up in Cleveland, actually Lorain, Ohio, on the west side of Cleveland. And everything you guys said is spot on. Before that, I was in the gym business. I ran a couple gyms. I owned a barbell club and a larger fitness club in Lorain. Did that for years, loved it. Very passionate about fitness and exercise. But I heard the same thing again and again. I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time for working out. And you mentioned this about prioritizing. The reason why you're not working out is because it's not a priority in life. Mm-hmm. You have to make it a priority. Do you watch television? Yes, I do. Well, because that's a priority. Do you spend time with your family? Of course you do. That's a priority. You've got to make it a priority. So when it comes to scheduling your day, I follow some of the rules that you already laid out already, mm-hmm. where you prioritize. And this is a quote I read recently about consistency, and you mentioned consistency. Success comes from what we do, consistency, not occasionally. And that's so true. Consistency, like when people would join one of my clubs. I said, guys, don't worry about the intensity. The intensity will come. Be consistent with your workouts. Day after day after day, 4 days a week, whatever you plan on. Very important. And you also mentioned a lot about failure, too. I'm a master when it comes to failure. I have failed many times. And I've often called it the Babe Ruth theory. A lot of people know Babe Ruth, and you mentioned a baseball analogy. Many people know Babe Ruth is a home run king, or one of them, of all time. A lot of people don't know he was also the strikeout king, too. So the bottom line is, if you want to hit a lot of home runs, you got to have a lot of strikeouts. Mm-hmm. And what's the old saying? I can't remember, but it's something to the effect that you miss every ball you don't swing at.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't.
That's it. And that's so true. And believe me, every day I get nervous. I go to networking events. I'm a little kind of apprehensive. I want to go and talk with somebody. I'm kind of nervous about it. You just got to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing when you do it, like getting on the phone. You got to make your calls every day. Sometimes I don't really feel like it. I'm tired. I've already been grinding it all day long. But it's amazing when I do it, and I've connected with somebody. I'm having a great conversation. I get off that phone. I'm like, man, that felt good. Mm-hmm. It was so worth it. So I just want to thank you again, guys, for coming in. You guys are awesome. And by the way, please get me that information. You talked about the video. Yep. And some other people you've mentioned too. I'd love to learn more. Chrissy, awesome. You're great. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone? Here's what we're going to do. We've got about 10 minutes before we wrap up. And we want to get moving a little bit and leave you guys with some energy. So I'm going to invite everyone to stand up with us. We're going to work in teams with the tables that you're at. And you guys, you might want to join up with this. The two tables in the back, you might want to join together. So you've got about 8 people. If you guys want to join with this team. But we're going to just brainstorm quickly amongst yourself as a team. One of the biggest takeaways, or some of the biggest takeaways that you have from this morning, or maybe an idea that this discussion has prompted in your own mind that you can walk away and put into practice right away. You'll see there's whiteboards up throughout the room, so just pick one and pick a leader for your team to write everything down, and then we'll ask you to share that. But then we're also going to share this with everyone after this meeting so that you have some of everyone's takeaways that can kind of jog your memory whenever you walk away from this. So kind of pick your area where you guys want to work. We'll give you maybe 5 minutes to talk this through, and then we want to hear from you as to what your takeaways are.